Thanks for everyone for joining today, by the way. So I'm going to spend the next 45 minutes or so of this presentation. So I want to run through what I've got through with this presentation. Then I'm going to open it up for a quick Q&A for the last few minutes. But yeah, this is going to be about essentially mastering, TikTok ads, TikTok shop. So my goal here for you guys today is not to give you this kind of high level marketing fluff theory, but by the time that we wrap up, hopefully you're going to have a better idea in terms of the pricing strategies to use, how to build things like an automated army of affiliates, how to set up paid media tracking, and actually scale your profits without just burning all your cash. So we've got a lot to cover today. If there's if there are any issues or something with my audio, you're not able to see or hear something, please do interrupt me. If not, I will carry on. Like I say, I'm not able to see comments or anything right now, as this is just full screen. But yeah. Before we jump into, specific strategies, so, I just want to give you a quick background about myself here, who you're speaking to. So, over the last few years, I've had the privilege of working with a bunch of major brands across the US, the UK, helping to scale some big companies, your fragrances, things like Nyla, Neuro, Boom Boom, some of these brands here, operating both as a creator or a manager, high-level growth manager in certain cases. So I've been on both sides of the aisle, been able to combine, the frontline kind of creative experience I've had as a creator and just applying it into the managerial capacity. So by bridging the gap, just helps been able to scale e-commerce brands to, in these cases, 7-8 figures in certain cases. So my goal here is to just pass on some of these frameworks and just some of these hard lessons that I've developed over the last few years, so that you guys can skip a lot of these trial and error phases that I've had to endure, so that you can start applying this to your own business from tomorrow morning or whatever. So to succeed with TikTok, the very first thing that we need to do, I suppose, is just to unlearn certain things that we may have picked up on other platforms. So, a bunch of us have been able to sell profitably on things like Amazon, on Google, maybe running traditional meta ads over the last few years. And so, accustomed to what is search commerce. And by this is where the buyer already knows that they have a problem and they're actively searching for a solution for it. So in such cases, obviously the goal is to capture existing intent. But with TikTok, it's a bit of a different beast. So TikTok is just built on discovery commerce. So users on the app, they're just not looking to pull out their credit cards initially. They're not there in the mindset of purchasing. So when they log into TikTok, they're there to be entertained, to laugh, to just, to pass time quickly. They're not there with buying intent initially. But our job as brand owners, as marketers, is to essentially manufacture that intent out of thin air in 60 seconds, 120 seconds in a video. But at the same time, you might be wondering, why would we advertise on a platform where people may not be looking to purchase initially? So, well, the reason simply is because there's a bunch of people on TikTok nowadays. 64% of Gen Z, for instance, they're actually searching on TikTok instead of Google for certain things. So we essentially want to be creating as much urgency as possible on TikTok, because attention spans are so short, that they're not there to look at polished commercials or some of these longer-winded meta videos, for instance. We need to be driving impulse as quickly as possible, and the absolute best way mathematically to do this is through just manufactured urgency. I don't know how many of you guys, by the way, have already set up a TikTok shop account or are literally selling or thinking about selling, but I just want to cover that before we start manufacturing this kind of urgency on TikTok from a creative perspective. We need to, set up realistic expectations in terms of actually having everything set up properly on TikTok Shop in the first place, and that is getting approved for the TikTok seller. So, as some of you guys may have already realized this, if you're already set up, this isn't an instant process with a lot of people. Because if you're planning just a massive launch or anything on the holidays, whatever, then I would recommend starting as soon as possible because it can take. I've seen things like 2-4 weeks, close to a month in certain cases to get things properly approved. There's a lot of back and forth that can happen with TikTok to actually get things set up properly. Because TikTok's compliance can be just notoriously strict. So with just automated bots just reviewing everything very literally. So excuse me, sorry, I got a bit of a cough. But yeah, the biggest obstacle I see that a lot of brands have is that where they get rejected is because of just document mismatches in a lot of cases. So for instance, their exact name on their business license doesn't match, for instance, their FBO certificate, or their correspondent address, for instance, is just slightly different from their registered office address. Then it's just these little small things like this which can cause your TikTok seller account to be essentially rejected. So my biggest tip for anyone in this situation at the very beginning stages is literally have everything, really dot your I's, cross your T's, have everything as clear cut as possible, as flawless as possible, because with any small discrepancy, like for instance, your manufacturer certificate, whatever it may be, then TikTok bots are notorious for just restricting things and to making it harder for you to actually be able to sell properly on TikTok. So just spoon feed the bots exactly the information they need. Just do it as simply as possible as well, and this will really save a lot of headaches and just automated rejections really earlier on. Let me talk now into, so assuming you got past the bots, the very initial setup stages, then and that you're officially live. Well, you obviously you can start building your revenue foundation. So if you take nothing away from this PowerPoint, by the way, I want you guys to remember this. So TikTok Shop is fundamentally an urgency platform. So you have to be injecting as much urgency into your offers as possible. If a user's scroll stop in their For You page, for instance, which for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's essentially the main part on TikTok where you see all the videos. Then if you don't have, for instance, a compelling immediate reason for people to purchase your product in this exact second, then they're just going to swipe away, and they're not going to see, essentially they're not going to see you again. You get one chance with this, like Eminem would say, you only get one chance here. So it's not one of these things where they see a video, they think about it in a bit, and then maybe they come back a bit late and purchase it. TikTok's very much urgency. It needs to be like this. So just think about that when you're making your videos, when you're creating your bundles, when you're creating your offers, that sort of thing. You want something that's just attention grabbing. If you think with that mind frame, you're more likely to succeed with TikTok. And yeah, in terms of so there are certain ways we can go about this. So with permanent flash sales, this is one of the ways that we can go about this. This is a certain pricing hack, and by this I don't mean that you're running, for instance, a flash sale on say like Black Friday flash sale, or just something on Easter just for a few days. No, what I mean here is literally running 365 days a year flash sale for your products, where it literally shows up a flash sale, something a bit like this on your products every single day of the year. So this is where essentially you see a massive discount here, and then the users here are just going to look at this and be like, oh wow, 59% discount. Attention, you want it as attention grabbing when they actually look at your product here, when they're looking at it on TikTok. This is the kind of effect that you want to achieve, where essentially people are thinking that they're getting a steal. And so, but why do we do this? Is because essentially it's just a psychological game. Because if customers click on your product, link on the video, it's just a massive visual trigger for them. That's essentially what we want to be trying to achieve. Where the ordinary person is just they're busy looking at their entertainment stuff, whatever, on their For You page, and then they stumble across your product. They see this massive deal. You want to be essentially harnessing that urgency right there and then. Beyond the flash sale, other stuff that we should be doing as well is essentially pricing hacks. So in terms of other things like bundles, for instance, We want to be. This is. I don't know how if you guys are familiar with this brand here. I know that some of us here are from the US. Goalie. They essentially they. I would say they set up the blueprint basically on how to promote a brand successfully on TikTok Shop on TikTok. A very big brand in the US, and they've moved on to the UK as well, and they've just been essentially doing something similar and really just taking over the supplement industry in the UK as well. Um, I would say do what they do here. Um, where they just set up a lot of stuff like bundles, for instance. Like initially they started off with the ashwagandha, then moving on to the apple cider the vinegar. This became very popular, and then what I think they were trying to do was essentially promote this product as well. One way to shortcut it was just to bundle all three things together at a great price as well. Like I said, this is a good example here, is because individually, just the one product, that's very reasonably priced. This is around $19 in the US. Um, very reasonable. A lot of people would just purchase that individually, but then they look at this, they get three for essentially the price of two, 52% off. Essentially, this is the kind of mindset we want to be cultivating with people who look at our products here on TikTok Shop. Make people think that they're getting a great deal. This is essentially 3 months supply for just £28, or around $35, $36. That's very reasonably priced. Yeah. Essentially, I would follow essentially the TikTok blueprint. Try out different bundles. If you've only got one product, try out a bundle of three of that same product. If you've got, if you're working, for instance, with a coffee brand, you've got different flavors. Have different flavor, 3 different flavors, 4 different flavors, whatever. It's not just restricted to just three. Try out a variety of different stuff. Try out a variety of different bundles and throw dirt against the wall and see what sticks basically on that front. But essentially you want to be trying out a bunch of the different stuff like this. Then next thing I want to do, so in terms of impulse action. So the final thing I want to talk about in terms of that part is that once you've got your bundles, your flash sales set up, all those sorts of things, then we want to be obviously minimizing as much friction as possible. I know some of the things I'm mentioning here are slightly basic, especially when it comes to like free shipping, but honestly, I'm still surprised to this day about how many people just overlook this, and which is like essentially you're just leaving money on the table by just keeping a free a paid shipping option. So highly recommend free shipping, especially if if you're working with higher tier products, higher pricing products, where essentially you can factor it in more easily into actually the price. It's just the psychological thing where people are just a customer might be psychologically happy to spend, I don't know, $20 on a product, and then they see the extra few dollars on the shipping. You get that moment of hesitation. Essentially, you're losing some customers there. If you have to chuck on the extra shipping price onto the actual price of the product itself, this is just unnecessary, just wasted time, effort, whatever you want to call it. So I don't want to go any deeper with that. But the other thing as well, so aside from the free shipping stuff, we want to be doing TikTok has this thing where they have their own smart promotions every now and then. I don't know how many of you guys have stumbled across this, are familiar with this, but essentially TikTok essentially they've been heavily investing billions of dollars into just making their shopping platform, their TikTok shop, a success, and they're literally subsidizing your sales to do it. So inside, for instance, this TikTok seller center here, you can navigate down onto the campaigns, into the smart promotion tab here, and where you should here be registering your products to basically every single one of these co-funded campaigns here available. Okay, this is not the best co-funded campaign, but every now and then you can find a gem here. By joining these campaigns, essentially also you're signaling to TikTok Shop's team that you're just an active, engaged seller. So the algorithm literally recognizes this and can sometimes artificially push your products to more viewers. So essentially it's free marketing. The more essentially you're playing it into this, you're working with TikTok here. But more importantly is that you can get these co-funded coupons where TikTok might run, for instance, like I've seen in certain cases, like 20%, 30% off campaign, if they're very generous, that is. It doesn't happen all the time. It's rarely, but it certainly can happen from time to time, where essentially you agree, for instance, to absorb 15% of a discount, for instance, out of your own pocket, but TikTok are actually willing to pay the remaining 15% out of their own. So essentially the customer gets in that particular case a massive 30% discount, but it only costs you half that amount. So yeah, the cheaper you can get your product out there into the customer's hands without, hurting your own bottom line, customers are more likely to pay. And then, you can advertise it a bit better on TikTok with your own creatives. This crazy deal going on right now. There are various ways that we can harness it, but this can really, really help to take off a brand, especially if you're beginning stages. Margins can be slightly difficult. If you do find yourself, lucky enough to find one of those great coupons that can happen every now and then, please take full advantage of it. But at very least, go into the smart promotions tab, start applying this at any ones that are available for your own products already. And yeah, then you're more likely to be gifted at a later date with TikTok. Okay, so I want to talk a bit about the organic strategy here. Like I said, I'm going to try to cover quite a lot of ground with a bunch of different stuff. This is one of the more important parts here. So if you've obviously got everything optimized with your offers, your bundles, reducing friction, all that sort of thing, we need to start looking into how we're going to drive traffic. The organic strategy is the main thing on TikTok. So TikTok's first and foremost an organic platform. It's not like Meta, relies more on people want to see authentic content here. This is essentially TikTok's crown jewel, the organic strategy, the organic side, where you need here to be posting a ton of content. I'm not talking like 10, 20 videos. I'm talking like hundreds, thousands over time. We will get into how we're going to achieve that. Okay. I know that can be a bit intimidating, but bear with me. But there are a few ways that we can do this: through a brand account, through personal pages as well. These are the main ways we go about this. By the brand account, I mean, for instance, you've got your own brand account, for your own company, you're advertising your product there. Personal pages, this is just, by this, what I mean is it looks more like TikTok accounts that are just not affiliated with the brand. This is essentially what I mean by personal pages in this particular case. Both can be leveraged very well. I would say the brand page is a lot more for building trust. If someone is specifically looking for your product online on TikTok, they might want to navigate onto the brand page, see videos, see what's actually happening with the brand specific page. It helps to build trust to have this thing. So this is why it's important not to neglect this. But the personal pages, this is where the main driver for sales typically happens with TikTok. In terms of certain content that we could be pushing out, so for your personal pages, your brand accounts, this is the kind of content I wanted to just give a few examples here that we could be doing. So you don't need a massive production budget as well. So I'm keeping this taking into account all basics here. I don't know what level some of you guys here are on, but TikTok doesn't need these high quality Hollywood-esque videos. That's not what TikTok is looking to promote. In fact, if you do start having like really high production quality videos in general, that's not probably going to perform very well, actually, because I know from experience, for instance, if I see something that's just so high quality, looks like a TV commercial, for instance, I'm just going to swipe away immediately. It's like, I know that you're selling to me. Don't forget, with TikTok, you're mainly speaking to younger audiences as opposed to Meta, where they're a lot more clued in terms of content, in terms of videos, entertainment wise. So a lot of them can spot too polished content from a mile away. So therefore, like I said, I wanted to provide some examples that are a bit more TikTok native friendly. Try out. It's just as easy as, for instance, just grabbing an iPhone, grabbing your phone, whatever, doing a quick talking head video like this guy, for instance. Even having the phone in your hand. If you're not comfortable on camera, it would be advisable to have certain talking head videos, people where you can put a face on it, but just videos where you can actually see the product in action, for instance. It can be very aesthetically pleasing to look. So and also it builds further trust for your product, especially if it's in action, if it's one of these, a fishing rod product, for instance. I think someone from the audience earlier spoke about it was like a clothing product or something. They want to see that being worn. Will look well with certain people? Try out different stuff like that. Street interviews. That's been these are consistent. In general, this is consistent evergreen content that's been working for years already, and it will probably continue to work a long time from now as well. And then meme content as well. Try stuff like this. If for anyone who has never created content on TikTok before, can be literally as simple as this. Doesn't have to be long. 15 seconds, 10-second video, 1 minute, 120 seconds. Can be very simple. But like I say, you don't need a massive production budget. Just get a phone and start recording, start making some things. And instead of obsessing over the quality of the video, start obsessing on other things like the hook. So the first 3 seconds of the video, what do the people see as soon as they see the video? What are the first 3 seconds visually? Try out different hooks. Just try out different stuff. Change the copywriting a bit to make it appeal a bit more to your product. This is another game altogether, but just giving you a quick overview in terms of certain things you could be trying today. Now, I mentioned earlier that you need to be creating a lot of content, because with the organic strategy, volume is king, I would say. Not just any video. You need to be producing quality content, trying out a variety of different stuff. You don't want to be literally posting absolutely the same thing over and over. That's not going to work. But to produce good quality content at volume, you need to be, for most brand owners, building an affiliate army is literally where it's at. Just in case anyone isn't familiar with this, I've just provided a screenshot here, for instance, to show you literally what can be done with just one video itself. So this here is data of individual videos here. So, there's some videos, literally one video, for instance, this was last week or this week, that just produced $100,000 over the course of this video here. That's for like a cleaning product. Kitchen products here. You get all different niches here. So no matter what niche you're in, you're probably going to find something on TikTok. There's probably a market for it on TikTok. Everyone's on TikTok. $100,000, $88,000 for a teeth whitening product here. Clothing product, $75,000. This is just like I say, this is just one video. So these brands are making hundreds of thousands, if not millions, these specific ones here. I'm not saying that this is going to happen for every single video, or that this is going to take off immediately. Like I say, these are the top performing videos of last week, but it goes to show you, how much money you can be making on TikTok, where in Meta, for instance, how much would you have to invest to achieve 100,000 in revenue? Probably quite a lot. Whereas with this, it's achieved with one video. You're not paying advertising. You're not putting advertising spend on it in a lot of cases, and boom, you've made quite a lot of money from there. So, just goes to show you the potential that TikTok has. It's like I said, it's a different game from Amazon, from Meta, from Google, but it can be very effective as well. But moving on to the main thing I want to focus on here is like building an affiliate army. So essentially, you want to be working with as many of these creators, the good quality creators, as possible. Essentially, people making content for your product or your brand. And this is a way of going about it, as opposed to you posting 100, 1,000 videos, whatever, in your own account or your own pages. You want to be just taking advantage of a good quality creators making content for you. Obviously, they're going to want to bag as well. They want to be, they're not making money. They're not doing this for anything. You've got to be paying them well. The way that this works typically is, through a compensation through, for every product sold, they get a certain commission rate. With the UK, with the US, Europe, it varies from region to region. In the US, it's generally higher. So you want to be creators. I would say in the marketplace nowadays, creators in the US want to be around 25%. I think absolutely no less than 20%, I would advise. If you're starting out, I would recommend setting a commission rate of 30%, 35% if you can. I've seen even higher than this. In the UK, it's a bit less. It's like 10 to 20% in general, but I would still recommend going higher. And then in Europe, it's even less than that. But the more you can incentivize great quality affiliates to work with you, and that's by increasing your commission rate, then you're getting free advertising in this way. And people don't some people will, instead of purchasing on TikTok, they'll go over to Amazon, they'll go over onto your website where you don't need to pay the commission rate. So take advantage of it. I would highly recommend incentivize the affiliates as much as possible. Don't forget, affiliates don't care about, the only thing they care about is the commission rate. They don't care about your product. They don't care about your brand. I know this because I've worked as a creator myself. We don't care at all about your product. We care about how much money we can make if we actually make a good quality video. So bear that in mind when you're setting up your bundle, setting up commission rates, that sort of thing. Have something that incentivizes people to make good quality content for you. And how do we actually get these people to join our brand, to work with us? Well, we can, instead of sending out a lot of messages, whatever, every single day, where our time can be better spent, there are tools that we could use nowadays, tools like Groover, Yuka, Reacher. These sort of, automated bots that send out outreach messages, free samples, commission rates to affiliates. I would recommend setting up something like Groover, where you can send out you can send out thousands of messages per day if you wanted to, actually, if you had the capacity to affiliates, sending out free samples to them so that essentially they have something to work with, and then they're making content for you. I would highly recommend setting up something on this. And by the way, we're not just sending out to anyone. Obviously, we want to be filtering out people, because I would highly recommend sending out free samples to these creators. I know it's a bit of an investment, but it can be highly worth it. But as a result, we don't want to be sending it out to anyone. This is the criteria I would typically work with. GMV of so gross merchandise value of at least 2,000 to 5,000. So this means this amount of sales that a creator would have made. I wouldn't go any less than that. Generally speaking, it's like I find the creators and sort of good enough quality at this time, I would say, to work with someone like that, because in general they get a free sample and then they can't make anything of value in general, from my past experience. So I would highly recommend this. Posting rate 60% minimum, because we don't want people to just essentially get a product, run off with it, and not do anything with it. We actually want them engaged, doing stuff with our product. Minimum follower count. For the US, it's higher. I would say 5,000 in the US, 1,000 in the UK. And the reason for this is because not everyone can run a TikTok shop, can create TikTok shop affiliate videos on their account. There is a certain minimum threshold, and that's by the follower count. So certainly make sure that it's above the threshold. Average views, no less than 300. Anything less than that indicates that the creator is probably not doing very well, or that there's a problem with the account. So you don't want to be working with either scenario. And then, like I say, commission. I would initially, starting out, I would evade retainers. I would do it on a performance basis, where creators can get a very good quality. We've discussed different commission rates, but having something of high incentive, so that essentially creator makes money, you make money. It's a win-win for both of you guys. Now, you might be thinking, well, maybe if I can just get a bot to do all the affiliate outreach messaging for me, then I'll just do hundreds, if not thousands a day. Yeah, it doesn't quite work that way, unfortunately. So there are certain restrictions. If you're just starting out, you may have realized that there's only a certain number of creators that you can send messages out to per day. And so what we want to be doing is obviously working our way we want to be working our way up here. to the unlimited option here where we can send out as many messages a day. So like your big brands out there are going to have this possibility. When we're starting out, we need to make every single message count. So we want to be, you don't want to be sending messages out to everyone. What I would highly recommend here to be able to, progress further up, because the more GMV, the more sales that you make, affiliate sales that you make every single week, the higher up you go. So the more messages you could send out, so more videos are made for you by affiliates. One way, so to make everything count here, I would one of the main ways I go about this is essentially try to find top talents. You can find that using tools like Fastmask, Kalo Data. This is Kalo Data in this particular case, where you can search for instance, your competitors. Let's go with a coffee brand, for instance. What I would do in this particular case, I would go into product. I would just type in something like coffee, find the top brands, top coffee brands, and then make a list of all the top affiliates that are performing for each brand, which Kalo Data, Fastmost reveal. Get a spreadsheet, get a list of these, and then you can individually send out messages, or do it through a bot, do it through Groover, do it through Yuka, where messages are sent out to these affiliates that are more closely aligned to your niche, more closely aligned to competitor products. And the reason for this is because if they've done well for similar products, or in a similar niche, then they're more likely to do well for your product as well, because creators can be just like, oh, I've gone viral, I've achieved a good quality of sales with this other coffee brand, I'll just do the same thing with this one as well. And I don't know what it is, maybe they have the right face, maybe they're saying the right stuff, maybe they're just naturally just better adapted for that niche. But essentially you're targeting creators that are better adapted for your product if you do it in this way, instead of just sending out messages to anyone. So highly recommend, starting out, use spy tools, like I say, with Kalo Data, Fastmost, in order to achieve something like this. Another quick tip that I wanted to share with you guys, because I know that for certain people here, certain brand owners that are looking to get as many affiliates on as possible, is it can be really annoying, the restrictions, the 500, 1,000, whatever affiliate message restrictions initially. So certainly recommend setting up. You can always do email campaigns as well. I know on Groover, for instance, it scrapes the bio of just creators on the platform. So essentially, it can generate this massive list of just emails that it could be sent out to, and where you can then, this is separate from the TikTok message limit. So yeah, set up a few email boxes if you can, and send out a bunch of affiliate messages through email as well. And you'll find that in general, it's only the better performing creators that have emails assigned to them in their bio in general, because they're the ones that are more looking for certain partnerships. So this is a good way of trying to find some of the better performing affiliates in general, as opposed to just anyone on the marketplace out there. Okay, I wanted to talk a bit, let's transition a bit, because I want to talk a bit more about paid media as well. Up until now, we've been talking quite a lot about flash sales, bundles, affiliates, and which is great, stuff that's native to TikTok Shop. But I know that, a bunch of you guys also will want to scale stuff outside, using TikTok as a discovery app, and then transitioning the customers over into your own website, into your own Shopify store, where people are going to be purchasing on your store as opposed to through TikTok. So, we want to very briefly cover a few things here. First things first, get the coding right. Make sure you got your pixel all set up. For anyone who's unfamiliar with this, please do set this up as soon as possible. The reason for this is because you want to be making decisions based on performance data. You don't want to be guessing. So what this pixel does essentially is it's a piece of code that you put onto your website, and TikTok is therefore able to track every single thing that is happening, from the customer seeing your video to ultimately purchasing something from your store. So this is incredibly powerful because then we can analyze specifically where we're, for instance, losing customers, what's working well, what's not, based on performance data. And then we're more easily able to A/B test a bunch of stuff, test out a bunch of different stuff, what's working, what isn't, based on performance data, as opposed to, like I say, just guessing. And the beauty about all of this now is that TikTok's made this incredibly easy to set up nowadays. All you need just is an integrated partner like Google Tag Manager. You don't need, in the past, you may have needed to be, developer or whatever to install the right code. This is all really easy now with certain apps. Just work with Google Tag Manager, very easily set up within a few minutes. No coding is necessary. And but yeah, make sure also to I can send you a video in terms of a setup or something afterwards. If feel free to reach out to me afterwards if you have any questions. But this is overall quite a simple process. But don't forget to set up events on your website as well. So again, this is more geared towards people that are looking to sell outside of TikTok on their own website. Setting up events, what I mean by this is essentially logging every single button, every single main thing that can happen on the website, like in this case, a free consultation, together with the TikTok pixel as an event. So therefore, if someone, for instance, clicks this button, then TikTok's going to recognize that, and it's going to understand that as a click on a certain thing. So therefore, like I say, you're able to gather performance data here, and therefore understand better the customer journey from seeing the video to purchasing a product. So please do this as soon as possible if you haven't done this already. It's incredibly powerful, very useful to make logical, well thought out decisions. And in terms of ad creatives themselves, so like I say, so once the pixel is perfectly set up, this is something that we can start looking into, the paid ads themselves. So if you take, one thing I will mention, if you take a lot of ads, for instance, if we've got Instagram accounts or YouTube shorts, you can try uploading content outside of TikTok into the TikTok app and try to make that work as an ad, but it's unlikely to work as successfully, I've seen in most cases, simply because just TikTok just operates slightly differently. The content it needs to be native to TikTok, the content, the certain style, the way it's presented, the video, the captions, it needs to have this TikTok feel. You'll start to get this sixth sense in terms of what is real TikTok content once you start looking more into the content that's being produced. Once you start actually working with it a bit more, you'll start to understand it a bit better. This is, for instance, like for instance, this is what I mean by TikTok content. For instance, like responding to comments, short captions like this, short text. You don't want to be doing like. You don't want to be doing an essay here. I would do like 1, 2, maybe 3 lines max in terms of the TikTok, the text hook initially. Keep things short. Keep things short and effective on TikTok. Don't rely on just one video when it comes to the ad creatives as well. So try out a variety of different stuff. I know that I've touched on this previously, but yeah, test out a bunch of different stuff. For instance, let me give you some live examples with this particular one. This is the text hook here. Can you do it on a strawberry? Try out, get a burner account, send comments on your page, and do things like, can you do it on a raspberry? Can I do it on a melon, on a coconut, whatever? Do you see what I mean? Try out a bunch of different iterations. Maybe if you're working with different creators, maybe do the same thing but with a man. Do it with a lady who's 50, whoever works better with you. Try different demographics. Try out different pictures. Maybe this didn't work very well as a face photo. Do a body photo instead. Just test out a bunch of different stuff. Like I say, you want to be engaging. So the same principles that apply with organic content also work better as well for paid content as well, because it doesn't a lot of cases, it doesn't show up as paid media to TikTok users. People will just look at this. Only you know that you've put advertising budget towards some of these videos. People will look at it as native TikTok organic content. So it needs to keep this as an organic feel as much as possible. So please bear that in mind. And yeah, the more variations you try, like I say, the more you give the algorithm a chance to find a winning combination as well. So, and in terms of tracking setup, if we've got all of this set up, how do we? The next step, I suppose, is just how do we actually structure campaigns to scale the budget? So, historically, media buyers, we've tried, just spent hours just building a lot of these complex ad sets, testing out a bunch of different audiences, demographics, manually adjusting bids. The beauty about TikTok is that TikTok's made this much more simple nowadays, where the even the top performing brands, a lot of them are just running this thing called GMV Max campaigns. So, like I say, top multi-million dollar brands, sellers are just running. Some of them are even just running this exclusively. Think of GMV Max as just this super smart automated engine that just needs fuel. In this case, being the creatives, as many creatives as possible, so that TikTok can do its thing. Iterate, try things based on essentially you're giving TikTok data, which is the creatives, and you just leave the algorithm to do its work, to do its own thing. And this can go. This just has made things just so much simpler nowadays, where we don't need to be wasting so much time on this. Much simpler to set up. Just go on when you're in TikTok Seller Central, shop ads, create a GMV Max ad here. Can be done within a few minutes. Very, very simple nowadays. This is the beauty of TikTok. Essentially, what TikTok has done is just made it, essentially, the main thing you need to worry about more is the creatives. If you've got good quality creatives, then that's all TikTok needs in order to do its thing and make money for you guys in this case. And finally, with this, I don't want to yap on too much longer with this, but when it comes to running ads as well, there is a certain minimum. Don't forget, we want to be. I think the minimum is around $20 nowadays. I think it's actually slightly higher, but I would recommend if you're starting out at around $20-$30 a day is very fine. Just so that TikTok, the algorithm's better able to get out of the learning phase and just find the buyers without you having to burn all your cash testing out a bunch of different stuff. I would recommend having a bunch of different creatives initially before setting up ads, setting up GMV Max in this case. I would say at least 50, 100 creatives before you start setting something up, because otherwise it doesn't give TikTok enough data in order to be able to make an informed decision. And scale things up progressively as well. This is one of the main mistakes I see some brands, where if you scale things too high initially, or a massive jump, you see that it's working profitably, and then you chuck on a lot more ad spend. It can kind of it can play a bit with the algorithm. So I would do a progressive increase, like 20% every 48 hours, for instance, if it's working well, and just steady increases and until you're able to scale to just high sums, thousands of dollars a day profitably. The final thing I wanted to touch here before finishing up, because I know I want to get onto some questions as well, is don't leave money on the table with retargeting as well. Make sure you have set aside a bit of budget for retargeting as well. You do get warm leads as well on TikTok, so people may have seen the product already. So yeah. Don't forget this. Like I say, it's a bit like the free shipping thing. It's incredible to me how many people forget this, how many brand owners forget this. Very simple to do, doesn't take long. Don't leave money on the table there. Target people with on the cart abandoners list, initiating checkouts in the last 14 days, that sort of thing. And yeah. But anyway, guys, thanks for listening to this presentation. I know we covered quite a few things here. Just wanted to just quick recap in terms of what we've discussed. Don't forget, so initially is, restructuring your offers, make sure things are very simple when setting up on Seller Central, make things simple for the bots to be able to apply properly. Once you've got all that set up, play around with the flash sales, play around with the different bundles, try out a bunch of different stuff. Make sure to create urgency. That's the main thing to keep in mind. Create urgency with your offers so that it looks like a steal, looks like a bargain. Don't forget the co-funded campaigns as well. So where you can get some freebies from TikTok from time to time. Deploy it, and then deploy an affiliate army. Set up something with Groover, Yuka, Reacher, one of these automated bots. Get a bunch of affiliates working for you in that case. Send out free samples. Send out a bunch of messages to get people on board at a generous commission rate as well. It really does help. And yeah, I think, and then in terms of, more in terms of paid advertisement, make sure you've got a pixel set up, the TikTok pixel set up, so that performance data can be fully accurate, and then you can make well performed, well thought out decisions based on performance data that way. And yeah, don't forget to launch certain ads. GMV Max can be very useful, and can start off with as little as $20-30 a day once you've got a bit of data going. But yeah, the brands that most succeed on TikTok are the ones that are just treating this, looking at this to make it as organic as possible, as authentic. They want to be showing authentic content, not overly produced content. So lean into that and essentially aim to build trust through TikTok. But thanks for everyone for listening here. Yeah, I've got a few minutes left here. I want to open this up to a few questions that you guys might have, whatever it may be. Let me see if I can go back here. Through my screen anyway. Right, so I'll open the floor right now to anyone who's got any questions.
Hey Jason, I really liked the presentation. That was super helpful. I do have a question about the affiliates putting our product in their link tree in their bio. How would you recommend we go about incentivizing that?
Link tree bio. So essentially what you're trying to do is get affiliates off the, essentially promote stuff off the platform, right? By the sounds of it.
Yeah, so like if they have a link tree in their bio and they have products in there, I mean, maybe it's not even worth pushing for that, but I will say like a lot of content creators do have that, and people go and click on it to see what they're selling. I know that's not TikTok specific really, but
yeah, I think I get what you mean. So essentially what you're saying is some creators have something on their bio already, and you're looking to essentially hire affiliates for them to make content for you to direct views to your platform, but using a bio link on their bio. If I know that was very wordy. What I would do in that certain case is I would try to arrange something with the affiliates to I would arrange something with the affiliates so that they're able to put that clearly, just the one thing on their bio itself. They make some content that goes viral. They then get people who are messaging. They're looking to, where can I find this product? They respond saying, check it out on my bio, the bio link where you can find the website, or on my link tree if they've got multiple websites set up. Really depends in terms of the arrangement that you can achieve with the affiliate. I would recommend speaking to them beforehand, but essentially want something clear on their bio that clearly directs viewers towards your website. I don't know that really answers fully your question, but hopefully that helps you out.
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much.
No worries. Anyone else got any questions? Is anyone here? So who else is running stuff on TikTok already? Are there any issues or anything that anyone here is running into? Anything that have been trying out where you may have expected to see better performance data? I'm happy and interested to hear.
Jason, I have a question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you would do free shipping.
Yeah.
Then you would mark up the price to cover that. So is it your experience on TikTok that when people buy something, they only buy one product unless you have a bundle, and then they'll buy more than one? Is that kind of...
Yeah, in most cases they would buy one. You do get, from my experience, it varies from brand to brand. It's hard to judge some of the better performing brands with the ones that are starting out. With some of the better performing brands, I've seen like, I don't know, I want to say like 30%, maybe sometimes they purchase more than one. So you do get a fair few people, but essentially you want to force it. Bundles is a good way of forcing an extra sale. So this is one of the reasons why we want to pushing out as many bundles as possible. So there are quite a few people that do want to purchase more than one, but you know, it's like they haven't come to that decision yet. So you need to help them come to that decision, if that makes sense.
So if you, so I guess my thought was that if we mark up to cover shipping and then they buy more than one pair,
yeah,
essentially paying shipping twice. So then but they don't know that, right? Or, I mean, but so my question would be from that, how important is it that your prices on the TikTok shop reflect your prices on your website, or have any, like, is there any correlation at all? Can we price them on our website ever and TikTok however?
Yeah, I know what you mean with that. I think in general, most people are, you are going to, I'm not gonna lie, you are going to lose some sales if obviously the markup, the price is different from the website in comparison to TikTok. However, most of the audience isn't going to go towards your website. People are lazy, especially on TikTok. If they are going to purchase outside of TikTok, they're more likely to go to Amazon. So I would say that's the main one to take into account. If you're able to better have a similar, or if not the same markup with Amazon in comparison to TikTok, I would recommend that more. If there is, you know, a slight difference on the website in comparison to TikTok, that's not ideal, but it's not a deal. I wouldn't say it's a deal breaker in most cases. You can. I think I would play around with that.
I would like to expand on that question. So let's say, for instance, on our website, we sell an item for $20, right, with no discount. And if we want to make it look like there's a discount on TikTok, we mark it up to $40 on TikTok to say they can get it for 20 at 50% off. And so, on our website, it's $20. Like, is that what you're saying to do with the pricing?
So, okay, let me just see if I understand this correctly. So $20 on the website, and then you're saying you're considering selling it at $40 on TikTok. Is that right?
No.
No, we said that it was okay on TikTok, so it looks like it would be $40, but you get it for 20, which is 50% off. So,
oh, I see. So essentially, what you're saying, on the website it's $20, but on TikTok it looks like it's $40, but you've put a discount of 50%, and it's coming out at $20. Is that right?
Yeah, is that what you're saying to do with our pricing on TikTok?
I would do that. Yeah, I would do that. Okay. People don't need to know what the original price is, whatever. If they're getting in that particular case, if they're getting a similar price on the website in comparison to TikTok, you know, that's even more ideal as well. But just the effect of just a massive discount is certainly going to help out.
Okay,
I would certainly do that.
And there's no legal implications to that.
It should be. I've worked with a bunch of brands that have done that previously. No issues.
Okay.
Jason, how are your brands that have prescription products? We have both non-prescription and prescription, but the prescription ones are higher ticketed. So, and they're the ones we would ideally like to choose to promote. How are your brands handling that side of things? In terms of, obviously, people have to get a prescription from a doctor, which can be included in the price, of course. But are there sort of extra rules and restrictions on TikTok? Because we haven't tackled TikTok for this yet.
Okay, so you need do you need a doctor's notice or doctor's permission or something to purchase the product?
Yeah, so when we're selling things on the website or on Instagram, that's included in the price, but they will get a doctor, 5-minute phone call or just e-prescription written for them, and they'll have to do a questionnaire and all of that.
Yeah.
I just wondered if there's different rules and guidelines for those kind of companies on TikTok.
Yeah, that's more of a tricky one. I mean, the subscription
All right.
thing, that's quite easy to do on TikTok. You know, you can easily set up a subscription, but if it needs to be doctor approved, excuse me, that's a bit more tricky. I would say Instagram's a bit more sophisticated in that sense. TikTok, it needs to catch up a bit with that. Yeah,
So do you think there aren't many brands on TikTok doing prescription products like GLP-1s and things like that?
I haven't seen. The thing is, I haven't worked with brands that require doctors subscription with that. I haven't seen many products like that on TikTok. That might be somewhat of a new thing. Yeah. So sorry, I can't help out much with that. But
That's all right. I'll do some research. Just wondered if you knew.
Yeah, I would look into that. I think from what I've seen though, right now, TikTok's a bit more is a bit more behind with that. I want to say that I haven't seen doctor prescription things on TikTok, but I could be wrong with that.
It makes it not instant because they have to get approved before they can purchase.
Yeah, TikTok's very there's a lot of rules and regulations of that kind of stuff. So I would actually be slightly surprised if TikTok's actually allowed that already on the platform, because the TikTok shop on TikTok shops is much more sophisticated than Instagram shop right now. So they've been very restricted with that sort of stuff.
Okay.
I think I've got time for one more question. I think we're closing up here. I'm conscious of time, but if anyone's got one more question here.
Yes, here, Luis. We are just about to start doing something with in terms of you know, like influencers and trying to do that they will post to about us. However, going back to the question about the discounts, we have like a premium product. We actually sells for $180, and we don't want to go into the price war, let's call it, and double the price in order to give like a 50% discount.
Yeah,
that's something some of the competitors are doing, and we don't like that based on our position. So my question at the end is, how likely do you think is to succeed with a high price product like ours, 180, and at the same time not following this percentage discount strategy, just following something else?
Okay, Luis, I just want to make sure I understood that correctly, because it was cutting slightly. Sorry, I think someone else was speaking. So, Luis, to circle back to what you're saying, so you're running a high ticket product, over $100, I think I heard.
Yes.
By the essentially price war, what you were referring to is essentially a race to the bottom, right? As in, competitors are doing less and less. It's like $90, $80, whatever. Did I understand that correctly?
They do that. It's $200, 50% discount, so I can sell you in 100. But we don't want to follow that path because we are a premium.
Okay. So you want to keep the premium, the premium prestige of your product, and you think that putting these massive discounts is going to cheapen the product, basically. Did I understand that?
Yes, and do some bundles and stuff like that, and some discounts or free shipping or things like that, but not going into the big discounts area.
Yeah.
So my question is, how is that likely to succeed in TikTok?
Got it. I understand now. I will say TikTok's generally geared more for lower ticket products, I would say. So anything like $40 less, unless it's, bundle, generally it's better for those types of products. However, there are a lot of great brands. There are a few very great brands doing more expensive products. What I would do in your case, I wouldn't cheapen your product. If your prestige is obviously very important to you, don't go running these flash sales or these massive price percentage discounts. You need to be just focusing on just the content and the right affiliates as much as possible. I think that's just your best way around it. I think already you're going to have essentially a hard time to sell higher ticket products on TikTok, because it's, like I say, it's an impulse purchase engine, TikTok. So you want people that literally just see a video, boom, they just purchase the product instantly there and there. You're going to have a harder time with that, but doesn't mean to say, but you can certainly do it. You just need to be really You just need to be playing the affiliate game just even stronger than what you would have been doing. Really go heavy on getting the right people on board. I would give out, so it might be giving out a lot free samples is going to be hard, obviously, with a high ticket product, but like screen them quite heavily, but make sure you're getting the right people. Yeah, just focus on the bottom line, focus a lot on the content and on the affiliates. It can be done. It's not easy, but that's the way I would go about it.
Yeah, and then we also want to use that what we get from the affiliate tips of the influencers and use it in other platforms like Instagram.
Yeah, I mean TikTok's great. Yeah, everyone should be doing that really with TikTok's. Like I say, it's an affiliate or content finding and content, getting the right people to come to your brand to make content for you. And also it's a content engine. So whatever great videos are made on TikTok can then be leveraged on things like Meta, on your website, whatever. So it's like, it's a video making engine. So even if you're just breaking even on TikTok, that doesn't mean to say that it's not going to drive sales onto Amazon, your website, whatever videos you can plug into Meta. There are various different ways. It can certainly set a foundation for the rest of your platform on using an omni-channel approach. So I think that's the way I would be looking at it, Luis. I would be looking at it a way of cheap, good ways of making good, getting organic native content for your brand, and then looking to make the profit more on Meta.
Okay, thank you very much.
No worries. All right, guys. I think that's it from my end. Like I say, thanks everyone for logging in here, checking out the presentation. If you've got any other questions, by the way, I know that I don't want to go over for here, but if you've got any other questions, feel free to reach out via email as well. I put it on in the presentation, the last slide. So yeah, feel free to check it out as well. But yeah, have a good rest of your day, guys, and thanks for coming here.
Thank you so much, Jason. And I just wanted to say as well, if you guys have any other questions or you want to see any other kinds of topics surrounding TikTok Shop and TikTok ads covered in the next webinars, just post them in the community or just message anybody in your channels. So then we can get those set up in the queue as well. But thank you so much, Jason. It was an awesome presentation.
Cheers, Gabriella. Thanks for setting this up as well. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.